Imagine climbing a mountain where, for every 4 people who reach the summit, one never makes it back down. That used to be the reality of K2, the second highest mountain in the world. While Mount Everest may be the tallest, K2 has earned a far deadlier reputation. The question is, does it truly deserve the title of the most dangerous mountain on Earth? Welcome to Mystery Extended, the channel where we dive deep into the world's most intriguing and unexplained mysteries. Standing at 8,611 meters, 28,251 feet, K2 is not just another peak, it's a death sentence for many who dare to climb it. Nicknamed the Savage Mountain, it has claimed the lives of experienced climbers, sometimes wiping out entire teams in a single expedition. Its extreme weather, technical difficulty, and unforgiving terrain make it a battleground where nature almost always has the upper hand. But what makes K2 so deadly compared to other mountains? In the realm of mountaineering, there are mountains. And then there's K2, towering at 8,611 meters, 28,251 feet. It stands as the second highest peak in the world. But unlike Everest, where guided expeditions and well-established routes provide a safety net, K2 offers no mercy. Its jagged ridges and unpredictable weather have claimed over 90 lives. And even today, it remains one of the most feared ascents on Earth. Some say the mountain has a will of its own, choosing who it allows to reach its peak and who it pulls into its icy abyss. To even attempt K2 is to willingly step into a deadly game, one where the rules are written by the unforgiving elements of nature. With every upward step, the air thins, and with it, the chances of survival grow slimmer. As the altitude rises, so does the risk of altitude sickness, an affliction that doesn't just steal your breath, but your very mind. The higher you climb, the more difficult it becomes to think clearly. Your body is fighting a losing battle, struggling to breathe. And before long, hallucinations blur the lines between reality and nightmare. The physical collapse is almost inevitable, and once it begins, it's a race against time to descend before your body gives out entirely. But altitude sickness is just one of the mountain's cruel tricks. K2 is known for its violent weather shifts. The jet stream, a fast-moving current of wind high in the atmosphere, slams into the peak with the force of a hurricane. These winds are capricious, changing direction and speed within minutes, making it impossible for climbers to predict what lies ahead. One moment you could be climbing in calm conditions. The next, you're battling a storm that could freeze you solid or blow you off the mountain entirely. And if the winds don't kill you, avalanches will. These icy giants waiting in the shadows are triggered by the smallest of disturbances. Whether it's a loose step or a gust of wind. In an instant, thousands of tons of ice and rock could come crashing down on you, leaving no escape. And then there's the climb itself, an unrelenting test of strength, skill, and sheer willpower. K2's slopes aren't the forgiving paths of Everest. It's a near-vertical wall of rock and ice that demands everything from the climber. One of the most notorious challenges on K2 is the Black Pyramid, a massive rock formation that requires climbers to make almost impossible ascents. To climb it is to engage in a battle with the mountain itself, but even that is only the beginning. Above 8,000 meters, climbers face the bottleneck, an excruciatingly narrow passageway beneath a sheer cliff face of unstable ice. One wrong move, and that ice could collapse, sending climbers plummeting to their deaths. Many who have ventured into the bottleneck never made it out, swallowed by the mountain's merciless grip. Every part of K2 is a danger. Every inch of ascent comes with the haunting reality that the mountain could claim your life at any moment. It's not just the climb, it's the mountain itself that is a mystery waiting to be solved by those who are brave enough to face it. And for many, that mystery proves to be their last. K2's deadly reputation isn't just a myth, It's built on decades of tragedy, failed expeditions, and climbers who never returned. Unlike Everest, where thousands of climbers reach the summit each year, there were periods when no one dared to climb K2 for years. Even today, it remains one of the least summited 8,000-meter peaks, with a death toll that cements its brutal legacy. One of the earliest attempts to conquer K2 took place in 1902, but it wasn't until 1954 that Italian climbers Lino Lacedelli and Achille Compagnoni became the first to reach its peak. However, their victory came at a cost. One climber suffered severe frostbite, losing fingers and toes, a grim foreshadowing of what would become a common fate on this mountain. Then came the true tragedies. In 1986, one of K2's deadliest seasons unfolded. A brutal storm trapped multiple climbers near the summit, leading to the deaths of 13 people in just a few days. Some succumbed to exhaustion, others fell to their deaths, and a few simply vanished into the blizzard, never to be found. But the horror didn't stop there. In 2008, K2 witnessed another disaster that shocked the mountaineering world. An ice avalanche in the notorious bottleneck section, a narrow, deadly corridor beneath a massive overhanging ice block, wiped out ropes, stranding climbers in one of the most dangerous spots on Earth. 11 climbers lost their lives that day, many plunging to their deaths while attempting to descend. Even today, K2 continues to claim lives. In 2022 alone, 3 more climbers perished, a reminder that despite modern gear and improved safety measures, the mountain's wrath is still very much alive. K2's statistics are chilling. While its fatality rate has improved in recent years, it once hovered around 20%, meaning 1 in 5 climbers who reached the summit never made it back down. It's not just the mountain's height that makes it deadly, it's everything about it. But what exactly makes K2 so treacherous? K2 is not just a mountain, it's a graveyard of ambition. Over the years, countless climbers have faced its wrath. But some stories are more chilling than others. One of the deadliest incidents in mountaineering history happened on K2 in August 2008, when 11 climbers lost their lives in a single day. After a grueling ascent, the team reached the infamous bottleneck, a dangerously narrow section of ice and rock sitting directly beneath a towering sérac, a massive overhanging block of glacial ice. Then, the nightmare began. As climbers carefully made their way down, a sudden ice avalanche wiped out their fixed ropes, leaving them stranded at over 8,000 meters in the death zone. Panic set in as exhausted climbers, already suffering from altitude sickness and extreme fatigue, tried to descend without safety lines. Some slipped and fell to their deaths. Others froze in place, unable to move in the darkness. One by one, they vanished into the abyss. Go back to 1986, and you'll find another chilling tale. The story of Alan Rouse is one of the most haunting on K2, a tale that is as much about fate as it is about the deadly unpredictability of the mountain. In 1986, Rouse, a seasoned British climber, joined a team attempting to summit K2. They were no strangers to the dangers of high-altitude climbing, but they couldn't have anticipated what would unfold. As they neared the summit, a brutal storm swept in, blanketing the mountain in a shroud of wind, ice, and snow. With the weather turning violent, the team was trapped, unable to descend. The raging storm, relentless and unforgiving, kept them isolated and vulnerable, with no hope of rescue. As the hours turned into days, the climbers' physical and mental states began to deteriorate. The relentless cold sapped their strength, while the ever-present threat of avalanches and frostbite loomed over them. The weather left them with no chance to regroup, and one by one, Rouse's teammates succumbed to the harsh elements, disappearing into the storm without a trace. Each of them, unable to cope with the extremes of K2, was lost to the mountain. But Rouse wasn't ready to give up. Though his body was battered and his mind slipping into delirium, he clung to life, determined to survive. His final moments, as reported by those who later pieced together his story, were tragic and heart-wrenching. On his last day, weakened and barely conscious, Rouse was last seen calling out the names of his teammates. Lost. Companions whose faces he may have seen in his fevered hallucinations. As he cried out in desperation, the storm engulfed him, and the mountain claimed its final victim. When rescuers arrived days later, Rouse's body was found still on the mountain, frozen in time, forever part of the unforgiving landscape that had swallowed him. Despite his status as an experienced climber, the brutal force of K2 was too much, even for someone like Rouse. His death, like so many others on K2, serves as a grim reminder of the mountain's power. It's not just a physical challenge, it's a battle against the mountain itself, a battle that even the most skilled climbers cannot always win. To this day, Alan Rouse's body remains on K2, a silent witness to the mountain's unrelenting nature. His story is one of countless tragedies on this deadly peak, and it serves as a chilling testament to the fact that on K2, survival is never guaranteed. The mountain takes what it wants, and sometimes even the strongest are not enough to escape its grasp. Unlike Everest, where guided tours and fixed ropes have made climbing relatively safer, K2 remains brutally unpredictable. What makes it even deadlier is that 80% of deaths happen on the descent. After reaching the summit, climbers are mentally and physically drained, their oxygen levels dangerously low, and their coordination failing. It's a perfect recipe for disaster. One misstep, one wrong judgment, and the mountain claims another victim. As we've unraveled, K2 is not just any mountain, it's a relentless enigma that demands the utmost respect. From its unpredictable weather to the sheer technicality of the climb, every step is a gamble. Its near vertical slopes, coupled with a lack of reliable rescue options, make survival a rare feat. With a fatality rate higher than any other peak, K2 rightfully claims the title of the deadliest mountain on Earth. It's not just about the physical strength required, it's the battle against nature's unforgiving wrath. In the end, the mystery isn't just why so many have perished, it's why so many still attempt the impossible. What is it about K2 that calls to those willing to risk everything for its summit? Perhaps that's the real mystery. If you're intrigued by the mysteries of the world, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about K2's dangers? And for more jaw-dropping mysteries, check out my next video. Let's keep exploring the unknown together.